Yeah, the Declaration for the Rights of Indigenous Peoples was adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations on September 13th of this year, just a month or two ago. And it culminated 30 years of my personal work. Well, it all relates to the initial issue of why we went to Geneva, which is that land and the tenure of land is fundamental, and indigenous people, by that right of first call, have first call to land. And so it's always about title. And so indigenous people, have been colonized around the world. And that colonization is not complete because indigenous people persevere to be who we are. And so one of the processes, of course, for helping people disappear is not to talk about them, not to write about them, and not to present them, and not to, it's just what we would call in our education system the sin of omission. And so by omitting us from history and from books and from natural understanding, we quietly disappear and become something of a stereotype, historical fact, when indeed we are right here. On September 12th, we were not peoples, we were populations. We were the working group for indigenous populations. We were, the permanent forum for indigenous issues. We were not peoples. But by adopting the Declaration, and in the headline, it says, the Declaration for the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, with an S, is an amazing culmination to our effort, and very few people would know that unless they understood the nature of the battle, the nature of the fight. And so it was a great moment for us. It just signals what we have to do next, which is to implement that declaration, to take advantage of those 46 articles and to make them work, and also then to begin the big effort to make that a legal document with international law.
Ultimately, what does this mean for indigenous people in the world? Does it give them more voice?
Yes, it certainly does. What it means is that there is finally a recognition that we are peoples, number one, that there are 46 articles that we can implement in that declaration, which is around issues of sovereignty, self-determination, the rights of free, prior and informed consent, the right to land and resources, the human rights. It's 46 strong articles that we wrote. They challenged 9 of them, and the 9 were changed at the last minute in order to pass it through. But finally, with that passing through, the vote was made, and 143 countries voted for the declaration. 11 countries abstained, and 4 countries voted against it. And the 4 countries were the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And for me, that was another victory, because we have been fighting the United States and Canada consistently over these past 30 years, and nobody knows about that. So now, when the vote came down, there they stood exposed for who they are, and fighting against our rights, and always did and always will. And why? The issue is land, and always will be land. There's a lot of blood around this, and a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice. A very few group of people who struggle through. And 6 nations, Iroquois, have always been leaders in this event. And so now we take the next step, which is to implement it. And as you say, what are we going to do about it? Well, we implement it. We take action upon it. And then we begin that long journey to make it international law. It's called to make it a convention. That's the next step, for it to become a convention. And the battle is going to resolve around those 9 points. We'll go right back. It's all been laid out. The field is there. The battle begins. But right now, we can take a moment's rest, and we can thank those people who fought so hard in all these years, and unbeknownst to most Indians, especially in the United States. We had good fighters coming out of Canada. We've had more activity in Canada than the United States, because basically the American Indians have been going to Washington, D.C. They've been looking, for their support material over there. They don't see beyond that, and they're very heavily controlled by that. And so basically the ones who have been overseas fighting were, like the Lakota, who always fought for sovereignty and issues, and the Iroquois who always fought the same way, and Western Shoshones who are still fighting, Big Mountain people, people who have been in battle, and who have been literally head to head on these issues, have been in Geneva, and it's been branching out. Navajos have been coming into it, and little by little, people are becoming aware of the importance of this struggle. Mm-hmm. Because what's determined there is what determines here. And so that's why this event has been so important, and why the United States fights so hard against us, because we challenge their tenure to land.